Now we move on to Cuba. Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel has declared that the Caribbean nation will defend itself firmly against any terrorist and mercenary aggression following a deadly shootout off of Cuba's coast. Cuban authorities say a Florida-registered speedboat entered Cuban waters and opened fire on a patrol, leading to Cuban forces killing 4 exiles and wounding 6 others in the confrontation. The incident comes amid heightened tensions with the United States, which has imposed sanctions and blocked oil shipments, aggravating Cuba's energy crisis and raised humanitarian concerns. Diaz-Canel has stressed that Cuba does not initiate aggression but will respond with determination to protect its sovereignty. Meanwhile, U.S. officials have said that they are investigating the incident independently, with no confirmation of official U.S. involvement, as questions remain about what led to the violent encounter in Cuban territorial waters. Now we welcome Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel has declared that the Caribbean nation will defend itself firmly against any terrorist and mercenary aggression following a deadly shootout off of Cuba's coast. Cuban authorities say a Florida-registered speedboat entered Cuban waters and opened fire on a patrol, leading to Cuban forces killing 4 exiles and wounding 6 others in the confrontation. This incident comes amid heightened tensions with the United States, which has imposed sanctions and blocked oil shipments, aggravating Cuba's energy crisis and raised humanitarian concerns. Diaz-Canel has stressed that Cuba does not initiate aggression, but will respond with determination to protect its sovereignty. Meanwhile, U.S. officials have said that they are investigating the incident independently, with no confirmation of official U.S. involvement, as questions remain about what led to the violent encounter in territorial waters. Cuba's President. We welcome Mr. Mark Sutherland. He's a geopolitical commentator, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Sutherland, for joining us again. Good to see you.
Asuma, good to be with you.
Now, looking at this and also considering the history of U.S.-Cuba relations, how do you view the current situation in terms of escalating hostilities between two nations?
Well, as you refer to the historical history here, we can go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis of '62, and much beyond that, and including the fact that Cuba is a communist state. There are many people that have left the island of Cuba and then have sought refuge in America. And as I referred to before on your program, you have to look at people like Mark Rubio and his family that are of Cuban descent, like many. So people will be mindful of this. We also need to be mindful of how, the Cuban people are asked to just exist on very few dollars a week. There are food supply issues, electricity supply issues, many, and all of these issues have to be bore in mind into the standard of living, but also it's their ideology, and their ideology is communist. Even as in the past, Mr. President Obama has gone on there and has gone over there and enjoyed standing in front of grey buildings and enjoying all the razzmatazz of what Cuba could offer. But this is what it comes down to, Asuma. How relationships will unfold. They will always be thinking of Maduro and what happened there. To you.
Yes, and in the context of this maritime clash and the ongoing economic pressure on Cuba, do you believe that the island's government will shift its political stance or reforms in response to U.S. actions, or with Venezuela's situation that happened, or will these measures continue to reinforce more authoritarian approach?
I think it will mean, on a personal level, I think, personal opinion, it mean they'll be digging in their heels, if you ask me. At the moment, that is what they will do. They will also be inspired. People might think, what a jump, by what they're seeing in Iran, because all these people do talk to each other. They have an ideology. We're working out and seeing the red-green axis come together. These countries then that are against the United States of America and what it stands for, or against the traditional Western world, even though those countries are beginning to question that and buckle under this ideology as well. That's why people have to stand up and push back. But I can actually see that they will be digging their heels in at this moment. Assuming.
Yes, and lastly, given that both countries have been through decades of tension, with Cuba framing U.S. actions as external aggression, is there any realistic avenue for reconciliation between U.S. and Cuba in the current geopolitical climate?
There could be reconciliation, but the ideology of communism, in my humble opinion, on the island of Cuba has to go. According to the president, I would say the way that the present administration in America under President Donald Trump and the administration actually views the world. They would like the Cuban people to be free, to then have a free market economy and not be restricted in the way that they are. That is all I can say in that regard. That will be at the center of, I believe, of a number of people that are in the administration, and that includes people like Marco Rubio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sutherland, for highlighting that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion.